In this section, we're going to be talking about distance and midpoint formulas. So distance and midpoint formulas were derived from just basic geometry. So if we have a nice little XY rectangular coordinate grid and we drew a right triangle, oh yeah, it looks pretty good to me. Okay. Then point A would be x1 comma y1. Point B would be x2 comma y2. Point C would be x2 comma y1. And what we could do is we can use the Pythagorean Theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to go ahead and derive the distance from point A to point B. So remember, the absolute value of, let's say, 5 equals 5, and the absolute value of negative 5 equals positive 5 as well. And the reason why they're both positive is because absolute value is a measure of distance. So absolute value is a measure of distance. So what we're going to do, all right, is in order for us to find the distance between point A and point B, which I have highlighted here in red, okay, in order for us to find that distance, what we need to do is find the distance between A and C. So let me get out a highlighter here. And we're going to find the distance between B and C. So what we can do is we can call this distance from A to C lowercase a, and then the distance between B and C, we can call that lowercase b, which means in red, our hypotenuse will be the distance from A to B. So let me get out my blue pen again here, because what I'm going to write here is this distance we know is going to be x2 minus x1 and its absolute value, because that is the distance. Now, in green, we're going to do the distance between B and C. So this will be the distance between y2 minus y1. And what we can do here is take those values and substitute them into x squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay? So let me just go ahead and write this down. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, in blue, I'm going to write down what I have. So it's going to be the absolute value of x2 minus x1 quantity squared plus, now in green, it's going to be the absolute value of y2 minus y1 quantity squared. Let me write it like that. Sorry. Okay, and this has to equal c squared, which means to solve this, we would take the square root of both sides. Now, when we take the square root of both sides, we don't have to put this plus or minus out front. We omit the plus or minus because distance is a physical value that's always positive. So all we need is just the positive side. But then our distance is going to be nothing more than just the quantity of x squared minus 1, or I'm sorry, a2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 quantity squared, which will equal c. And this, if I just replace c with the letter d, parenthesis, a, comma b, which means the distance between a and b. Now, the reason why I can change from the absolute value to parentheses is due to the fact that the absolute value will already take into account any negative values and will automatically make them positive. So no matter what, I will always get positive values underneath this radical, so I don't have to worry about complex numbers or anything like that. So right there in all of its glory is going to be our distance formula. So a simple example would be find the distance for the following. All right, we're going to keep this real simple. All right. So we're going to find this distance right here, the dotted line between the points 1, 1 and 3, 4. So distance between point A and B is going to equal the square root of 3 minus 1 quantity squared plus 4 minus 1 quantity squared. So the distance between A and B is going to be the square root of 2 squared plus 3 squared, which is going to be, what's that? 4 plus 9. So the distance from A to B is equal to the square root of 13. Okay? So there's our distance. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just use this example. Going to copy it, and we're going to use this example here to try to find the midpoint. So our midpoint, if we just look at this, would be somewhere like right about there, like in the middle. Okay. Now, my drawing isn't perfect. Okay. If you were to use Desmos or something like that, you'd get a much more precise looking picture. But if you just think about midpoint, it's in the middle. And if you think about it, it's nothing more than just the average of the x values and the average of the y values. So the midpoint formula would be nothing more than just a point where you want to find the average of the x values and the average of the y values. So for this specific example, our midpoint will be 1 plus 3 divided by 2, comma, 1 plus 4 divided by 2, which would be 1 plus 3 is 4 divided by 2 is 2, comma, 5 over 2. So there's our midpoint. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.